we're going to start this conversation. I'm super excited to be, doing this conversation, guys. I've been, I'm super excited about this partnership that we are kind of building in the process of building with Umesh Gajera and Tyke, right? And, the possibility of bringing some great businesses that are listed on Tyke, to the audience, right? And the idea is to bring in, right perspective, discuss the right details around a certain business, so that the confidence is much sharper. And and more importantly, it becomes a support system, right, for the founders out there. This conversation is very special. We're discussing Alpino. Umesh, Priyank, Hiren, it's a pleasure to have all three of you with us. I've particularly been excited about Alpino as a brand. I can't claim to have experienced this firsthand, right? But my daughter is a big fan. And that makes this conversation very, very exciting at many levels. D2C is something that I've been a big fan of. I have continued to believe that post 2020, the way D2C has disrupted the possibility of Indian retail, right, and the way the Indian consumer has adopted to it and adapted to it, has been absolutely spectacular, right? I think we are in an economy which is information-led, and D2C brands are doing it just so much more better, right? The way they're communicating is just so much more efficient. They're doing a lot of transparency. And that possibly is going to be the foundation and the strongest foundation of this relationship that the brands will want to build with their consumers. With that, I would want this spectacular team at Alpino to do a quick round of introduction. Umesh, I'm going to come to you first. If you could introduce yourself, and I'm coming to Hiren and Priyank after that.
Yes. Thank you, Ashu, for a lovely introduction. Yeah, I'm also much excited about this conversation. So myself, Umesh, I'm the leading as a co-CEO and Alpino Health Foods, and I'm the one of the co-founder. I majorly took care of the offline sales and HR function in Alpino.
Super. Priyank.
My name is Priyank, and I am a CFO and take care of entire finance and accounting.
Super. But I will come back to you with the financial questions, right? Given that you're managing the finances. Hiren, quick round of introduction, and we move into the conversation from there.
Hi. Myself, Hiren. I'm a co-founder and leading e-commerce at Alpino.
Super. What I'm excited about is that, you have your 6 co-founders, right? You don't necessarily come across companies, that have that large a founding team, right? Just phenomenal at many levels, because, then you're able to focus so much more deeply on each aspect of the business, right? And I think D2C requires that, but it's also challenging at the same time, right? Unless you pen it out very clearly who's going to do what, right? We're going to talk about some of those nuances in the process. But Umesh, I'm going to come to you first, right? Given that you're leading this pack here, I would love to understand, quick round of introduction to the brand Alpino. I think will be a great start, and of course a little bit on the journey of how it started will be a great starting point. Over to you, Umesh.
Sure, Ashu. Yeah. So first of all, as you mentioned, we are 6 as a co-founding team. So at Alpino, we see ourselves as a strength point. Our main strength is that कि आज 6 लोग की फाउंडिंग टीम है, तो every 6 of them are heading a different department, और that's our major advantage that every department को हम relatively काफी अच्छा time दे पाते हैं उसको develop करने. So let's talk about the journey. It has been an exciting journey. I think Alpino, it's 5.5-year-old, started back in 2016. Back in 2016, we were just passed out from the college, and before that, we were the college friends. We were studying in the same classes and sitting on the back benches, and वहीं पर हम धमाल मस्ती करते थे. Yeah, after finishing the college, and we started की concept. So that was the first decided कि हमें business करना है. या family का support था background में कि do whatever you guys want to do, but limited time है आपके पास. अगर वो नहीं कर पाए तो फिर मैं बोलूँगा आपको वहीं पर जाना है मेरे business में यहाँ पर. तो वो फिक्स था. तो after the finishing the college, हम सब एक लोग को जानते ही थे, and we started research कि क्या possible ways है. Out of researching one by one so many things, we get to know कि we are going through the export data कि कौन से प्रोडक्ट ऐसे हैं कि जो इंडिया में मैन्युफैक्चर हो रहे हैं और काफी अच्छे लेवल पर एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा है. And we fall on specifically peanut butter. Why peanut butter? When we research कि कौन सा ऐसा प्रोडक्ट है जो गुजरात से सबसे ज्यादा एक्सपोर्ट होता है. So here is the main key point how we fall onto peanut butter specifically. कि पूरे वर्ल्ड में इंडिया इज द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट पीनट मैन्युफैक्चरर आफ्टर चाइना, and even in India about 50 to 55% पीनट गुजरात से ग्रो होता है एंड एक्सपोर्ट होता है। और उसके अलावा भी वन मेजर पॉइंट इज पीनट गुजरात में जो भी पीनट मैन्युफैक्चर होता है, पीनट बटर मैन्युफैक्चर होता है, उसमें से 95% एक्सपोर्ट होता है। बैक इन 2016 तब तक यही सिनारियो था, गुजरात में जो भी पीनट बटर मैन्युफैक्चर होता था उसमें 95% एक्सपोर्ट होता था, बिकॉज वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में सालों से पीनट बटर यूज हो रहा है, वहां पर हर घर में पीनट बटर अवेलेबल है, सो इट्स वेरी कॉमन फॉर देम। But in India, it's very new thing, and we saw that opportunity. कि why not in India? India का ही product है, गुजरात में manufacture हो रहा है, और 95% export हो रहा है, and we saw that gap, and we started कि and at that time so many people or community में भी healthy food companies, healthy startups related to this category start, and we thought कि peanut butter is very healthy, and let's start and a company specifically relevant to who provide a healthy breakfast, deliver a healthy breakfast, and peanut butter is a very healthy source of protein or fat जो कि आपको ब्रेकफास्ट में, आपके डेली रूटीन्स में आपको प्रोटीन कंटेंट में हेल्प करता है। And that's how we started, and we followed to peanut butter. And then we started by selling. Initially, we listed our product on a online platform only, Amazon and Flipkart. They were just started to took off as an e-commerce. And then after 2 years, we started an offline presence. Initially, we were just 6. As of now, we are a 60 plus professional team, and are majorly available in offline, more than 40 plus cities. In online, we are doing very well on Amazon, Flipkart, and leading e-commerce platform. Yes, we also have our own D2C e-commerce platform. We are doing very good over there also.
Right, phenomenal. So Umesh, we're going to speak about a lot of these parts, right? And through the course of the conversation. But what I want to understand is, thank you for the highlight, right? Thank you for giving us a perspective in terms of how it started, right? I think from being backbenchers, to now doing a phenomenal business, right? Possibly leading the category, right, across the country. That's a phenomenal brand, and I think most importantly, there are many global brands that are there, right? I mean, peanut butter is a category which is long existed globally. And I think here you are, you built a domestic brand which is, like I said, right, which is leading the charts from an overall turnover standpoint. We're going to talk about a lot of that through the course of conversation. But what I want to understand, Umesh, from you, and possibly Hiren can pitch in on this one, is, what's the SKU base now? So Alpino, you started with peanut butter, but I think now you are a much larger, diverse brand, right, with many more SKUs in the bucket. And that is very logical, right? The way I look at it, because you've been there in the market 5 years long, right? The possibility of cross-sales is very high. What does the SKU base look like right now? What are the other products that you brought into the bucket? I'd love to understand that.
Yes, Ashu. Yes. So initially, yes, of course, it was only peanut butter, and our goal is to fill a healthy breakfast category and jump into that category, because that's a huge category. Or breakfast is your very important meal of the day, right? So if you got a very nutrition product and initially in the morning itself, so it will very energize you throughout the day-to-day activity. So initially we followed into peanut butter, and then in peanut butter, we have a 5 to 6 variants. Out of them, coconut is very exclusively, no other brands having a coconut peanut butter in that. Nobody have a high protein chocolate peanut butter in that. Apart from peanut butter, we have started a muesli. Breakfast cereal mein muesli, and we have launched another category, especially in healthy beverage, in a healthy wellness product. It is green tea and apple cider vinegar. So apple cider vinegar will help you in weight loss and skin care, and green tea also will help you in maintaining your overall wellness.
Right. I think your tagline, Umesh, should be, you want to lose weight, come to Alpino, right? Because I think everything that you, every product that you have, right, I think is designed to make people look good, right? And you're still, a food company, not a cosmetic focused company, right? But no, I think jokes apart, Umesh, one thing that I want to understand, right? Now, all of this calls for certain expertise, right? Now, when I look at the founding team is largely, your focus has been business, right? What I want to understand is, what is the expertise on the team on the new product development side, right? Because food is something which is a very complicated topic, right? You need a lot of consistency. You need it to be tested across a variety of environments, right? And India is a very large seasonal market, right? Things can go bad very quickly. Packaging again becomes an issue, right? So you have to. I mean, there are BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, FSI has defined so many pieces, right? I mean, it's very difficult for a food brand to sort of operate at consistency. I'd love to understand, at a team level, what's the construct, right? I mean, who's leading the innovation piece, and what kind of an R&D setup do you have? And I want to ask this early on because everything else follows is more on business, right? At the end of the day, product has to be a winner, and it becomes important that you have the right. I want to understand, what is the setup there, because that essentially is the foundation for everything else that you do.
Right, Ashu, right. So yeah, as you mentioned, R&D and the product development is a key part of the success, and also, and from initially itself, अगर products आप same Western country के product को आप India में अगर तो you want expect the same result जो आपको Western country में मिल रहा है, you have to be develop a product जो Indian consumer को, Indian taste bud को develop करे और Indian taste bud को जो चीज पसंद है वही आप चीज उनको offer कर पाए. So initially peanut butter में हमने काफी R&D और product research किया. उसके बाद हमने पीनट बटर पाउडर है समथिंग जो कि हम एक्सक्लूसिवली इंडिया में हमने डेवलप किया पीनट बटर पाउडर. उसके अलावा म्यूस्ली. सो एज टीम एल्पिनो, महत्व एंड मिलन वुड टेक केयर ऑफ द एंटायर R&D पार्ट. So majorly महत्व is very passionate about मतलब doing a regular activity नए products को develop करना है, उसके trial and error and testing, consumer feedbacks लेते हैं. So first of all we leave our product by ourselves only. अगर वो हम उसको डे टू डे ट्रायल में और डे टू डे ब्रेकफास्ट में अपने रूटीन टाइम में ला सकते हैं. उसके बाद हम कंज्यूमर ट्रायल एंड टेस्टिंग करते हैं. अगर कंज्यूमर के फीडबैक हमें पॉजिटिव मिलते हैं उसके बाद वो प्रोडक्ट को हम राइट मार्केट में राइट प्राइसिंग और स्ट्रेटेजी के साथ लॉन्च करते हैं. But R&D, of course, it has to be in a continuous based process, right? So 2 years back हमने coconut peanut butter launch किया. Recently we have launched vegan protein peanut butter. Market में high protein peanut butter है, but they are using a whey protein in it, and we are using a vegan based protein in the high protein. So that's a key strength.
Interesting.
आपको R&D पर regularly focus करना पड़ेगा.
Super. I think Hiren wants to make a point. Hiren, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, so as Umesh said, we have an in-house QC QA team who takes care of the product development entirely. So first of all, we look out for the products which can be fitted to our existing portfolio, right?
Sure.
उसके बाद क्या होता है कि we look out for the product की जो market में already available है. What are the gaps, जो भी मतलब वहाँ पे problems है, how can we resolve them, and how can we provide the better products than the competitors at the better pricing, at the better packaging level.
Right. Interesting. Super. So, okay. Umesh, another question, a follow-up question, subset of this question, right? Now, I want to understand a little more of the manufacturing, right? Now, typically, like I said, the entire value chain is a fairly complicated one. You have to sort of have, QA, QC is not only limited to your a lab level setup, right? I think it is something which has to be constantly, across the entire value chain. You have to have a very thick layer of, intervention, right? Because, and that's how, even the agencies work, right? They can pick up samples from pretty much all the last mile, right? And that is very, very critical, right? From a reputational standpoint as well. What I want to understand in the process is, what is the back-end alignment, right? I mean, do you have manufacturing partnerships? Are they spread across the larger country? Are you kind of largely concentrated in Gujarat? That's where you come from. What's the thought process there? I'd love to understand that.
Right, Ashu, right. So first of all, we work on an asset light model. So जहाँ पर हम खुद manufacturing facility develop नहीं करते हैं, but we partner with India's best manufacturing facility. हम उनके साथ partner करते हैं for our domestic supply. उनके साथ partnership करके हम हमारा खुद का recipe develop करवाते हैं. उनके ही factory में हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स के जो रेसिपीज के लिए जो बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर होता है वो डिफाइन होता है. क्या न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू चाहिए, क्या इंग्रेडिएंट्स चाहिए उसके अंदर, वो हम डिफाइन करते हैं मैन्युफैक्चरर के साथ बैठ के, बिकॉज उनकी एक्सपर्टीज है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करने में, और वी नीड दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट की जो इंडियन डोमेस्टिक मार्केट में काफी अच्छे से फिट हो पाए. सो एज ऑफ नाउ पीनट बटर जिनका हमारे साथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है फॉर डोमेस्टिक, जिनके लिए हमारा प्रोडक्ट का जार, सील, लेबल सब हम डेवलप करवा के उनके पास सप्लाई करवाते हैं. And they manufacture and keep us. Apart from it, we have the best manufacturer supply for Amuse tea, for apple cider vinegar and a green tea itself also.
Interesting. Okay, guys, I have a bunch of questions on that front, but I'm going to come to that in just a bit. But before that, what I want to understand is that, what is the demographic that you're targeting, right? When you talk of peanut butter, my immediately what goes into my mind, and that's the impression that is created globally, right? Is that peanut butter is largely something that is, it's like when you're a kid, it's part of your growing up process, right? That's how it's been advocated, and that is possibly how it's being marketed, in India as well, right? The go-to segment is the kids because they're craving for such things, right? And the parents want to give them something which is healthy, but at the same time, part of the growing up process, so on and so forth, right? And there's a certain affiliation that you can build, right? So there's an emotional attachment that you can build in the process, right? Now, what I want to understand is that the core demographic that you're catering to, or are you looking at a lot of grown-up audience as well, right? So, for example, peanut butter is now being consumed across a lot of gymming audience as well, right? People who are very active on the exercising circuit and stuff like that. There are the meals carry peanut butter, right? Why am I talking about peanut butter? Is because my sense is that's a larger from an overall revenue standpoint, that's the biggest contributor, right? And that's the reason I'm focusing the conversation on peanut butter. I will come to the other things in just a bit, right? But what's the demographic that you're going after? I'd love to understand that.
Yes, Ashu. So I think it's totally different what you have said as of now. But the major and targeted audience is fitness and gym goers people. Whoever want to be a fit as of now, they're consuming a peanut butter and their regular diet. बिकॉज पीनट बटर में आपको बेस्ट न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू मिलता है जो आपको बॉडी और आपके वेट ओवरऑल मेंटेन करने में आपको काफी हेल्पफुल होता है. ऑफकोर्स एज ऑफ नाउ पीनट बटर किड्स के स्नैक्स में उनके लंच बॉक्स में अभी तक ऐड नहीं हुआ है, एंड दैट्स वी आर एमिंग टू बी एंटर्ड स्पेसिफिकली मदर्स एंड किड्स की जो कैटेगरी है, होम एंड किचन की जो कैटेगरी है, एवरी किचन में हमारा प्रोडक्ट पीनट बटर का प्रोडक्ट्स अवेलेबल हो. सो स्टिल आई वुड से कि व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड बैक इन 2016, मतलब पीनट बटर काफी नया था. अभी ऑफ कोर्स लॉट ऑफ कंपटीटर्स आ रहा है, इवन कैटेगरी बहुत बड़ा हो चुका है एंड ग्रोइंग वेरी रैपिडली, एंड ईयर ऑन ईयर वी आर growing very rapidly. When we started back in 2016, there were only 4 to 5 players in the offline, and in e-commerce only 5 to 7 players. जो भी वो भी small players थे और इतना dominate नहीं था market में.
Sure.
And then that we saw a gap. And we first pitched our peanut butter not to a kids, not to a mother or a adult person. We choose a specific category कि हमारा प्रोडक्ट है वो स्पेशली हम जिम और न्यूट्रिशन जो कि प्रोडक्ट्स को काफी अच्छे से सबसे पहले रिलेट कर पाएंगे. हम उनको न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू समझाएंगे कि व्हाट आर द बेनिफिट्स ऑफ यूजिंग अ पीनट बटर, एंड दे विल डायरेक्टली रिलेट कि हाँ इसमें से प्रोटीन मिलता है और मेरी डेली रूटीन में मेरे को इतना प्रोटीन चाहिए, एंड पीनट बटर विल fill that gap. So we started with that particular category, fitness and health and gym goers की category, and we got a very good success in that. We first placed our product not in any retail store. We first placed our product in a nutrition store and the gym, and that's how it started. We were the first कि जिन्होंने fitness category के लिए peanut butter को introduce किया. General audience now they are picking up कि peanut butter काफी regular diet में use करना start हुआ है.
Interesting. So okay, so guys, this is an extremely complex market, right? So I get a drift of what you're trying to sort of highlight, right? That this is something which is for slightly more mature audience, right? And they're already a motivated segment, right? But India, I mean, and not just India. I think when you look at global numbers, right, that's a much smaller segment. Other people are happy-go-lucky, right? We eat first and then we think later. In terms of calories and all that, right? Now, which essentially means that there's a very large market opportunity, right? But it's also a very, very complex ecosystem to be in, right? And that's largely because, especially after 2020, and because, we were locked up, we continued to talk of Geo, right? And how Geo bottled that information revolution. But what we experienced post 2020 has been absolutely spectacular, right? I mean, it has never happened when, the world was essentially at a standstill and just consuming content for 4-5 streets, right? Now, what is that has done is that, it's exposed us to so much of content which is out there, right? And the acquisition for brands has also become largely, the hunting ground has become essentially just about 4 or 5 ecosystems, right? So Instagram, Facebook, social media has become such a big sort of a play, right? And the top dollar, all of the capital that companies are raising, essentially going into that market. Now, what I want to understand in this particular case, right, is that there are many, many brands that have come up within the peanut butter category, right? And of course, all of health, pretty much. The consumer is wanting to try just so much more. Everybody's dissecting the market very, very quickly, and they're trying to sort of win their own niches. What has been your strategy in a complex market like this, right? And the other thing is, a subset of this question is that 3 months, 4 months, when you consume something, you want to break that monotony of consumption, right? You want to try another new product. The pace of developing a product becomes very, very critical in this thing, right? You have a very large, offering vis-a-vis your competition, right? But India is a complicated market, right? And especially when you start sort of dissecting it at across our regionality. And second is our ability to play. How will you solve it for that? I'd love to understand that.
Right. So Ashu, we have put our products at a very reasonable price. They are not too expensive like some of the brands available in the market, and they are not very cheap compared to some of the brands available in the market. So we take care of the ingredients we are using in the product. So our highest priority always will be health. Second will be taste, along with the minimum ingredients we are using. So if you compare the some of the brands like Sundrop and Fun Foods, they are offering the peanut butter at a very cheaper price, like 270, 280 rupees, right? But हमारा कैसा है कि उनका पूरा classic range आता है. They are using so much hydrogenated oil, sugar, salt into the product. We are not using in the natural peanut butter. If you compare, हमारा peanut butter is made of 100% roasted peanuts and nothing else.
Interesting.
Also, it is very cheap compared to some of the brands who are also using hydrogenated oils and selling the products at 550, 600 rupees.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
But this is still a very cluttered market, right? Umesh, do you want to talk about that a little, right? Because, ability to differentiate yourself is just, it's eventually it's content, right? And when you know that there is, say, for example, a larger brand at play, there's a certain comfort that you have. Yeah, that you've been consuming from this brand, right? That just makes it so much more difficult for a new brand to, make that entry. I'm assuming that the product is spectacular, right? But communication is where you get it first, right? Especially in a digital ecosystem, your ability to communicate to a consumer is just so much more important, right? I'd love to understand that. I think, Umesh, you want to possibly answer that. If you could just highlight your strategy there, it would be nice.
Sure, Ashu, sure. So, of course, and I also believe, and we also observe that in India, I think consumer, स्पेसिफिकली फूड प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए जब आपके पास ऑप्शंस ज्यादा हो तो आई वांट से कि कस्टमर इतना लॉयल होगा कि मतलब सालों के लिए मेरा ही पीनट बटर ट्राई करेगा. ऑफ कोर्स कंज्यूमर विल ट्राई अदर पीनट बटर आल्सो, आइदर इवन इट्स हायर विद द प्राइस, दे मस्ट बाय फॉर इवन अ वन टाइम और उसको एक बार ट्राई जरूर करेगा. एंड when we sure about our quality, she will directly come for a repeat buying also. As how we are positioning and differentiating from other products, as we always say, we know a peanut very well comparing to any other competitors, because हम गुजरात से हैं और peanut हम इतना ज़्यादा relevant करते हैं कि शायद हमारे farms में भी peanut ही grow होता है. So peanut is in our main grain, you can say. और in going forward we have planned कि हम peanuts के related इतनी अच्छी healthy offerings इंडिया को देने वाले हैं, and we have already started R&D for particular that because peanut as an ingredient has a very good nutrition profile in that particular range. We have already planned many very healthy nutrition based products only just related to around peanuts, and that will be completely differentiate from the competitor, and also will increase our product basket and offerings to the consumer.
What I particularly like, guys, about about Alpino was I was on your website, right, when we were before we were doing the session. I was just visiting it, right. What particularly stood out for me was one that there was very and not that we should promote this but there was a very clear, the aggression and the aspiration, and with that touch of softness, right, with which you want a new consumer to become part of your family is absolutely spectacular, right? I mean, I could see that discount right there. As an Indian consumer, as a conscious consumer, I think that just becomes a very super play, right? That value play, I think, is just so much more important, right? So I'm getting a great product on one side, and then I'm getting the right value on the other side, right? And that just makes it, I think, number one, comforting, right? As soon as I'm entering the ecosystem. I think the other thing is that, there is you're not limited to just one product, right? I can now see that there are 5 other products, or of course, the SKU base is much larger, right? There are many other products, right, which are essentially, again, re-emphasizing that, health continues to be the focus, right? And, your positioning as a player which is serious around offering health, I think is just so much more stronger in the process, right? I think that, to me, is absolute standout, right? And I think you've been able to achieve in a much, much shorter time span vis-a-vis many other players, that are out there. But I think India is still, like I said, right, a complex market which requires, you to be hammering it in every single instance, right? And that essentially means that you'll have to try a lot of permutation, combination, and just be at it, right? But we're a very large opportunity. I'm gonna quickly sort of come to what's the regional spread that you see, right? Umesh, you can answer that, and I would love to begin Priyank on this point, right? What's the regional spread that you see, right? I mean, India is a large market. We have a tier A market and a tier 2 market, right? And of course, we are much deeper in our layers. What's the kind of traction that you've seen, right? Are your orders primarily coming from tier A markets? And I would love to understand the source of these orders, right? I mean, are you getting more orders from digital ecosystem, and how is physical performing? Because you started as a physical first product. I'd love to understand, how is that shift happening? If you could give out those numbers.
So if I break out our online and offline traction, so I think there is a 60 to 65% our sales come from an online e-commerce market, and 30 to 35 come from an offline. It's very 2 to 5% on regular month-on-month basis. Yeah, particularly in offline, yes, our major products availability or market reach is limited to tier A and tier 2 city only as of now.
Okay.
And in that specific also, northern region is very strong. Around 50 to 55% sales only come from the north region only. Delhi, Punjab, Haryana are the most and very active states जहाँ पर हमारा online offline traction is getting very good. Similarly in South India, we are available in Bangalore, Tamil Nadu, and Chennai itself. So over there also getting a very good traction. So in digital space, A category and a B category of cities are majorly targeted, and in specific that also A plus and A categoरी स्टोर जो चेन स्टोर्स होते हैं, मॉडर्न ट्रेड स्टोर्स होते हैं, वहाँ पर हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स की अवेलेबिलिटी काफी ज्यादा होती है, वहाँ पर प्रोडक्ट की डिमांड भी काफी अवेलेबल रहती है.
Very interesting. Priyank, do you want to talk about that?
No, it's done.
Okay, Umesh has covered it all. All right. So now I'm gonna come to what you highlighted, Umesh, right? I think what becomes important, and I think that's something which is coming now true for every brand, right? And is essentially to go out and create a lot of experiential activities, right? So now the brands, essentially the strategy that I think, I've had the opportunity of speaking with many founders in the D2C space, right? I think one thing which is coming in is that hybrid is here to stay, right? So essentially what they're doing is that they continue to be present in a digital environment where they directly can engage with the customer, and they're creating a lot of experiential activities, right? While they're bringing in this community together, they're building community engagements, creating these kiosks where you can really go out. So a lot of experience. Either they're doing activities or experience centers are coming up, right? I'd love to understand from you, how is that? How are you planning to increase your footprint on the ground, right? Because you will hit that point, and you see those numbers are those metrics are out there, right? That if you have to grow beyond 100 crore mark, you have to build a very strong physical footprint in the market, and that's largely because India is still a market which is coming up the curve, right? Urban has moved, but tier 2, tier 3 is still coming up the curve, right? The experiential aspect becomes very important and becomes a filler in the process, right? How are you looking at that? I'd love to understand that.
Right, Ashu. So as you rightly said, if you want to go for a 100 crore mark, above 100 crore mark, of course you have to be very widely reached, and you have to go very deeper, just for not only limited to A plus or A category of stores. गोइंग फॉरवर्ड वी हैव प्लान कि हमारा जो प्रोडक्ट्स का रीच है, हमारी प्रोडक्ट्स की अवेलेबिलिटीज है, वो सिर्फ ए प्लस और बड़े बड़े टाउन में अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं रहेगी. वी हैव प्लान कि हम छोटे टाउन में हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स को रीच करें, और जो बी और सी कैटेगरी के काउंटर्स है, उस काउंटर्स पर भी हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स अवेलेबल है. फॉर स्पेसिफिक दैट ओनली इंडिया में मतलब स्टिल नॉर्मल कंज्यूमर इज स्टिल वेरी प्राइस कॉन्शियस. सो as yes, our product is range between 200 to 500, but we have just recently launched our product at 99 rupees. So 99 rupees में आप सिंगल पाउच 200 ग्राम्स का पाउच है वो परचेज करके उसको ट्राई कर सकते हैं. पीनट बटर का जो डिफरेंट फ्लेवर्स है उसको ट्राई करके आप बड़े पैकेजिंग के लिए जा सकते हैं. कैटेगरी कवरिंग लार्जर ऑडियंस, वी हैव प्लान कि हम डिफरेंट SKUs एट चीपर प्राइस में लॉन्च करके कंज्यूमर के नॉर्मल हाउस होल्ड के घर तक, किचन तक हम पहुंच पाएंगे. और उसके अलावा दूसरे प्रोडक्ट्स बास्केट्स को भी हमने इंक्रीज करना प्लान किया है. डिफरेंट प्रोडक्ट्स को हम मार्केट के लिए ला रहे हैं. That will help us to go above 100 crore and catering to a larger audience who are just not limited to health or gym related audience.
Correct. Kiran, you want to add something else?
Yeah, so along with the existing categories, we can explore some new categories as well, जहाँ पे किसी ने भी अभी footprint नहीं रखा है, like Horeca, CST canteens, college canteens. So that all categories we are looking to explore.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, interesting. Guys, I'm going to touch upon financials. This is too short a session to be sort of doing deep dive on it. I'm going to ask you about larger numbers. Our audience can ask you more about any questions that you have, and even later, right? When we put it out as a recording, they can continue to ask you those questions, right? I think the round is still going on at Tyke. And they can, and I'm sure you can answer that there, right? So I'd love to touch upon financials, right? So I'd love to understand, what are the AOVs right now? What are the repeat numbers that you guys get seeing, trends that you're seeing there? How's new client acquisition playing out for you, tax behaving for you, and overall top line? I'd love to understand some of these metrics. And I'm assuming all of the data that you're giving out is already in the public domain. So Umesh, if you could pick up that, and Priyank, you can add to that.
Yes. So as a top line talk about, last year we have closed around 24 crore. Just talking about an AOV on our website, we are getting it around 450. Average order value is 450, and we are getting very good attraction on our own e-commerce store itself, and getting an around 2 to 3.5x ROI in that particular itself. Yeah, Priyank, you can add in that.
Year-on-year growth 60% around, or CAGR was 125%.
Right. Priyank, how are the repeats coming to you? I mean, how? Because repeats is something which is very, very important in this industry, right? CACs are going through. Repeats become important. How are repeats?
Repeat ratio will be on our website around 35-40%.
Okay, interesting. And vis-a-vis industry standards, have you been able to benchmark yourself vis-a-vis industry standards? How's this?
No, it's more than industry standard.
Okay, lovely. I'd love to understand one more thing, right? That like I said, right, tax are going to move. What are the strategies that you are? Referrals become very important, right? I mean, everybody's today kind of talking about referrals. Everybody's talking about community, right? And community-led evangelism of the brand, right? I'd love to understand your strategy on that front. What are you doing on that front, right? And how do you improve your CACs to? How do you expect your CACs to play out over a period of time?
Yeah, so right now our customer acquisition cost is around 100 rupees. With the average order value of 450 rupees, right? So once we are able to increase our AOV through the new product launches, through the जो भी अगर हमारा जितने भी new customers आते हैं through our website, they try the sampler packs like 400 grams, 200 grams. So once the repeat buying starts coming in, automatically हमारा average order value will be increased and CSA will be go down.
Interesting. Hiran, what are the current trends that you see right now?
Current trends in terms of?
In your repeats.
Yes, so that's why we have launched our 2.5 kg peanut butter. It was first in the Indian market, जहाँ पे like we are getting so many requests for the people कि हम we are using your products regularly और हमें बड़ा पैक चाहिए. So there was only maximum of 1 kg available. उसके बाद हमने 2.5 kg buy किया and we have seen that जो भी customers samplers pack buy करते हैं, they instantly like after 30 days, 40 days, they instantly go for the bigger ones.
Interesting. Okay, that's one more question, right? Now, we've been talking a large part of our conversation has largely been focused towards peanut butter, right? What I want to understand is, what is the spread of revenue between peanut butter, all the varieties included, and the other ingredients that you've done? You're doing green teas, you're doing cider vinegar, you're doing quite a few things, right? What's the spread? And I understand that you're in a very early phase for a lot of other products, right? So this is not. I just want to understand. Are you able to leverage your existing base, right? For other products. I'd love to understand that side of your strategy and thought process, right? How are you leveraging your existing base to introduce new products, right? That essentially means that the AOV is going to look very, very different, right? And your lifetime value of a customer is going to be very different, and the engagement, of course, is going to be much higher, right? So I want to understand the revenue numbers, right? What kind of a split is there on the overall top line?
So right now, other products revenue is less than 5%. We are majorly focusing on peanut butter. Other products are only supporting कि मतलब हमारे जो भी ऑफलाइन मार्केट्स में जहाँ पे भी अवेलेबिलिटीज है, सो we find out कि जो भी हमारे existing user base है, we can provide the other products as well. So right now we are not focusing that much on the other products. They are kind of the supporting products, but in future 100% we are going for to focus on other products as well.
Super. As of now, split is between I think 85 and 15. 85 is majorly peanut butter, and rest of 15 you can count muesli, and apple cider is a very good contributor.
Sure. No, I think that's understood, right? I think it's an important question, but also an unfair question at the same time, right? I think a lot of these products are newer products, right? They're younger siblings of a very thickly established product that you built, right? Will eventually leverage the credibility and the relationship that you build with the consumer, right? And that's essentially what your possible thought process is, right? Guys, communication becomes a very, very important thing in the largest scheme of things, right? What is your communication strategy? Are you now bundling all of this up together? Or will you continue to sort of market each product independently, right? Because a lot of these categories are very cluttered, right? When you look at, say, apple cider vinegar, right? Every single brand is kind of offering that. When you're looking at green teas, every single brand is doing that, right? So these are independently, they're very, very competitive categories, right? The margins are becoming much more slender, right? What's going to be the strategy on the customer acquisition side going forward? I'd love to understand that.
Specifically, and going forward, we are going to be change our position specifically, and we are also introducing a very good new products, mostly relevant to a peanut itself.
Sure.
So. Alpino is going to be in all about peanut. कुछ ऐसे products है जिसको हम अभी shift करके हमारी I think sister brand में out कर रहे हैं. But there are very exciting and new products are lined up. It's going to be an addition way, and which is a base ingredient as in a peanut.
Okay, awesome. Guys, we're towards the end of our conversation. Right, I'm going to ask you one last question. There are a bunch of questions that are coming in. We're going to talk more about that. I'll take those questions. Now, tell me this, right? What are the next 2 years like? Right, you're in a very, very interesting position. You worked very, very hard for a market that was, possibly not so connected, very, very divided, right? In many ways, 2020 is a differentiating year. You're actually at that point and that cusp of growth, right? I mean, the kind of numbers that you're talking about are very good numbers, right? What are the next 2 years like? I'd love to understand that.
Yeah, in the upcoming 2 years, we see ourselves as a category leader, specifically in peanut butter itself only, and as we are launching other two or three very exciting products. So in next 2 years, it's very, very exciting for us as so many new products are lined up. We are going to start and focusing on export itself also. Currently we are planning to do and covering a neighbor countries itself, जहाँ पर काफी अच्छा potential है, specifically peanut butter में, and they are also under penetrated as of now related to peanut butter and other healthy food products. So going forward, it's a very excited or a scope and जो base से category develop हो रही है. There is an a very good level of upscale trend in this category.
Interesting. Hiren, you want to add something to that? This is the last conversation. This is the last question in the conversation. Anything that you want to add?
Yeah, right. So next year target is around 45 crores, and in 2 years we are aiming to achieve 100 crore mark.
Fantastic. Priyank, you want to add something there? You're the finance guy.
So the targets has been set by Priyank only.
Interesting. Okay. Awesome, guys. A spectacular conversation, right? I enjoyed every bit of it. I think you're going to be, I love the way you're solving for it, right? And I think this is a story which is going to be inspiration for many, founders out there, right? Tier 2 founders specifically, who are out there. You're coming from a tier 2 market, right? Which is a representation of larger India. I think, what you built in the last, 4.5 years, right, is absolutely spectacular, right? I think India is a market which is now getting homogeneous. India is a market which is now opening up to new trends, right? And I think, for somebody to create a brand today, I think it's going to be just so much more difficult, right? I think the good part is because you started early, you have that understanding, you optimize your backend, you have that infrastructure which is required, right? You have that supply chain understanding which is just so much more efficient. Your finances look so much more sorted, right? In the process. I think this is that absolutely perfect spot for growth, right? I think you've gotten that recognition from the largest sellers in the market, right? You've been acclaimed for the kind of work that you've done with Flipkart, and you've been acclaimed for the work that you've done with Amazon, right? So it's spectacular at many levels, right? I very firmly believe that, like I said, right, I think this is going to be an inspiration for many entrepreneurs out there. But more importantly, Alpino is going to leave a very different kind of an impression on the audience out there, right? I think I love the focus with which you're solving for health. I think eventually will be a portfolio play, right? And how you cross leverage your portfolio play. I think one thing which is clear, and I think you've created a dent with that, is the peanut butter. It's a competitive category, but I think with the kind of reviews that you have, the kind of association that you've built, is spectacular. I'd love to see personally more experiential activities being done. Tier 8, Tier 2, Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, right? Because now India is becoming one large market, and that's largely because of flow of content, right? That's something which is very important. So I wish you all the very best on that front, but we'll not let you go. We still have a bunch of questions to ask, right? There are people asking. You've answered some of those questions. A couple of questions that have come to me is one: how are you looking to, what are you looking to and planning to do with the ESOP money that you're raising on Tyke? That's one. And second, a subset of that question or related question is: what is the kind of return that the investors can expect from you, in this, by making this investment? If you could answer that, it would be fantastic.
Yeah. First question. For the first question, majority of our amount we raise will be utilized for the team building, marketing and awareness building, and product development and innovation.
To increase our market reach, जहाँ पर अभी हम Tier A और Tier 2 cities में हैं, we have planned a lot more कि जो हम छोटे एरियाज पर हमें जो नए प्रोडक्ट्स डेवलप हुए हैं उसको लेके हम काफ़ी अपना रीच इंक्रीज कर पाए, बिकॉज द कैटेगरी इज डेवलपिंग. जो भी डिमांड मार्केट से आ रहे हैं, we have planned कि हम कंपटीशन को काफ़ी अच्छे से with our reach we will beat it.
Interesting. Do you want to identify one or two activities that you want to do once the money comes in? Do you want to talk about that? That'll be very helpful.
So directly go on the specific activity. I think
I'm saying broadly what you're going to do. I think it'll help people who blogged it, right? Who wanted to participate in your round. It'll help them to understand your thought process better, your priorities better, right? So if you could give one or two and not details. I understand it's business, right? You want to keep your cards close to your chest.
At back end, you will see 2 or 3 very exciting products coming just out of this ESOP London, and after 1 or 2 months. Product development and is already started, and some part is going towards that those products to launch that in the market.
Interesting. And this product is going to be within the peanut butter category, or is this going to be different?
No. That will be something related to peanut, but not directly a peanut butter. That will be related to a peanut.
And a new category
that will be completely new in the market, because of course peanut butter or peanuts के related snacking items काफी सारे हैं, but इस तरह के products हैं जो markets में आपको नहीं मिल रहा है.
Super. I think you're giving us a view, right, in terms of a cue, in terms of what's next, right? And I think I am excited about peanut as a category. We've been exporters, right? And like you mentioned in the conversation, right, one of the highest producers of peanut in general. Gujarat leads the pack, right? and you have the backend, right, to do a variety of things, right? I'm not going to get into specifics. I'll leave that for a later conversation, right? Guys, last question. Somebody's asked this, in the Q&A. What kind of a return can a CSOP investor expect? What is it that you are aiming for?
I think there are minimum return has been set, right, Viren? And if brand goes by a multiple valuation, of course the CSOP investor will get the equivalent valuation of multiple times.
So to give you a context, back in 2016, अगर किसी ने around 5,000 rupees invest किया होता तो it would have become to around 50 lakh rupees. And we are still growing at the same pace. Our targets are also high, so you can expect the same amount of return in next 5 to 6 years.
Super. Guys, I think an absolutely spectacular session. Thank you so much. I am going to go back to Sri. Sri, do you want to open this up for our viewers to ask questions directly?
Yep. If any of you have any questions, just raise your hand. I'll let you speak.
Ashu Agrawal. Actually, I represent a micro VC fund that we are starting now, and we will be looking to invest in D2C brands specifically. Right. So this is very interesting. Thanks so much for your time. I enjoyed talking to you guys and listening to you guys immensely. Thanks, Ashu, for asking very pointed questions. Only one simple question I have is, when you talk about your future plans, I missed when you talked about your 2023 numbers or 24 numbers. I just missed it. So if you can repeat that, and out of that, how much will be peanut butter and how much will be a new category? How much you are looking to grow peanut butter, and in a white sky scenario, how much you think only peanut butter can become?
All right. Thank you so much, Ashish, for a very good question. Going forward, in our plan also, peanut butter, of course, will be in a major product, a major contributor to our top line. But that will be around something 60 to 65, which is as of now it's 85 to 90%. जो भी हम नए products ला रहे हैं, we have planned कि we will penetrate those products in that way कि जो Indian consumer and Indian household को daily routine में as a healthy breakfast में काफी useful हो पाए. And those products I think will be in a very exclusive, since is an R&D part is in a very strong and we have developed and introduced a very different flavors of peanut butter, of course, and peanut butter powder. And we are pretty sure कि हमारे जो नए products market में हम launch कर रहे हैं, those are mostly related to a peanut, of course, that I can give you in a context. And we are seeing कि उसमें से हमें काफी अच्छा growth मिल पाएगा.
Okay. I'm assuming that answers the question. I'm assuming that answers the question, right? But I think guys, it's going to be it's an important thing, right? And I think everybody would want to understand that, right? Because I think it's very critical to understand, right, how you building that depth, right? Because I think any investor who comes on the table would want to understand the point of defensibility, right? In this case, and I think that's essentially what Ashish alluded to, right? How quickly can you scale and what percentage is this going to be, so that in case there's a certain shift that happens, right, the overall portfolio risk becomes very important, right? I think you've done it right in some way, or you've brought in a bunch of other categories. I think how do you sort of cross leverage that? How do you de-risk your portfolio over a period of time? I think it's going to be an important thing, right? And I think
right,
through the course of conversation over a period of time, and I think across personal conversations, I think this is something that you should want to highlight, right, in the process. Is how I see it. Any last questions, before we bring this session to a close? Sri, if you could.
I don't see anyone raising their hands. If you guys have any questions, please do raise your hands, and we can go ahead with that question or end the session.
Okay, awesome. It's 6 and it's Saturday, right? It's time for us to switch off and settle back on work on Monday, right? Guys, thank you so much for an absolutely phenomenal session, right? If possibly all of you are under 30. Right, I think the kind of impact that you're making is absolutely phenomenal. I think a lot of hard work that you've done across, since you started out, right? I think is now at a point, like I said earlier, I think, for a very different kind of a journey, right? For a very exciting market, for a very connected market, right? I think we wish you all the very best with all of your new product development, how you play your portfolio, how do you become much stronger, thicker part of our everyday life, right? while I've not been a user, I'd love to try it sometime and write a feedback, right? Thank you so much for doing that. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Ashu.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Ashu.
having-
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks everyone.
Thank you, Ashu.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.